Thank you all for joining Lumens webinar today. We will go ahead and record this webinar and make sure it's available for you at the end of the presentation. Please note that questions can be placed in the Q&A section at the bottom of the screen. We'll go ahead and answer them at the end of the presentation. And then for those of you who joined us today, thank you so much. You will be entered into a drawing to win a Lumens VCBTU Full HD web camera. Thank you so much. I'd like to now introduce you to Mr. Chester Lee, Lumens VP of Sales, and also Mr. Rick Puleo, our product manager. Chester, thank you so much for presenting today.
Thanks a lot, Helen. Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you guys all for joining us today. My name is Chester Lee, so I'm the Vice President of Sales of North America. And Rick, why don't you go ahead and just give yourself a quick introduction as well.
Hey everybody, my name is Rick Puleo. I'm with Lumens. I've been with Lumens for over a year now. Background in live production and post-production, and really excited about the CamConnect Pro.
Thanks a lot, Rick. So as I looked over the registration list, there's a number of organizations I'm pretty familiar with that I saw in there. There are a number of organizations that I didn't recognize on there. So I appreciate you for giving Lumens an opportunity to go over the solution. So I appreciate that very much. I want to do a quick background on Lumens and kind of who we are. Lumens as an organization, we are a subsidiary of Pegatron. For those who are familiar, maybe not familiar, Pegatron is one of the larger manufacturing companies in the world, making products for a number of different people, as you see it listed down below. But what value does that place for Lumens? Given our ownership, it gives us a couple things of specific capabilities. One is the ability, economies of scale is basically allowing us a large supply of components to build products. So we're not running into any supply issues as more as they see with some of our competition. The second thing that really makes it valuable having Pegatron as our backing is the R&D support that we get from that organization, so that we are providing the latest and greatest solutions and being innovative in the next steps. With that, it gives us three core things that we focus on as an organization, be it connectivity via AV or IP with multiple streaming protocols, working with NDI and Dante. The second thing that we have on here is the optical strength. Obviously, being that we're owned by such a large manufacturer, we do get the highest quality of lenses because of that. So that helps produce higher quality images on there. And we'll talk about that in a second, but giving us optical zoom strengths, 12, 20, 30x, 1080p, and also at 4K. And last but not least is that digital imaging processing, and really talking about the quality, the clarity, the accuracy of the colors of what it is taking in and streaming out. So for Lumens, we're going to talk about the CamConnect today, but Lumens over the last few years has really developed a complete ecosystem. When I mean an ecosystem, I'm talking about the connectivity from first receiving the digital image through our cameras, taking that image, and what do we do next after that, right? So from there, we have the connectivity with our AV over IP solutions, the ability to control which cameras that we're presenting and streaming with our camera controllers, and then taking also our media processor, streaming out the content live or recorded via YouTube or Panopto. In addition to that, we do have other solutions as well in document cameras, which is what we're very famous for in the K-12 space. But as I noted before about Pegatron and that support, it does give us some higher values for you, the integrator and the end user. Number one, it's the warranty. It's a 5-year warranty on all of our products except for accessories on there. So we do have a 5-year warranty on that product. In addition to that, the majority of our products are TAA and NDAA certified. So if you're working with a lot of the federal government spaces, most of our products are in that realm where they have all the certifications on there. But please work with your zone managers to verify the solution. In addition to that, we do have a 30-day evaluation program on there. So there's zero obligation to you. Work with one of our zone managers. You fill out the form. We'll pay for the shipping out to you, and we'll also put a return label in the box for you to return it. We do believe that with the Lumen solution, you know, it is an excellent solution, but the proof is in the pudding when you put it in your own hands and, you know, put it through a ringer and put it through what you need it to do. So as I noted, 30-day demo, zero obligation. We'll pay for the shipping to you there, and we'll pay for the shipping back on the product on there. So with that, you know, we have our sales team that's in place. We have Eddie Boyett in the Northeast, Andrew Malazzi in the Southeast, and then Brandon in the West Coast, and then Rick is our sales engineer. And also we're supported with Helen, as you'll see Helen in a number of our activities and events across the US. So for today, we'll talk about the CamConnect Pro. Some of you, like I said, are familiar with it. Some are slightly familiar. Some are new to it. But the basics of what this product is an AI speaker tracking solution. And we'll go into the depths of some of the components associated with it and what it does, you know, solves the problems in today's world. So as we talked about, it's an AI speaker tracking system, TAA and NDA certified. What it does is that it takes the audio coming from microphones, and we'll talk about that in the next slide in a sec here, to generate the camera angles and what's taking and images it's taking. So we'll go into it a little bit. So we work with a number of microphone partners. We'll talk about that a little bit more in depth in a few slides later. But we work with a lot of the major microphone partners like Shure, Sennheiser, Yamaha. What this will do is that it takes the audio data coming from the mics, either be a ceiling mic or even in the wall microphones from a Nareva, takes that information and says, that information in the mic is hot. I'm going to talk to the CamConnect and says, hey, CamConnect, this audio area is going. Please adjust the camera to associate with that preset region. So as you'll see in the imagery they're seeing here, you've got multiple cameras here focusing on one group here and another camera focusing on these individuals speaking over here. So in summary, kind of looking at the topology, as noted, we will work with up to 4 Lumens cameras, and it doesn't have to be a tracking camera. It could be any of our PTZ cameras. We'll make it an auto tracking camera, and it is only compatible with Lumens cameras only. With that, we'll work with up to 16 mics in the array, be it from one of our manufacturing partners that we've already established, and it'll take those communications as noted to position the cameras into that area. So some of the applications that we work with, and I don't want to pigeonhole this into these only regions, but anywhere where you're trying to have a hybrid meeting presentation, it does fit this application for speaker tracking. So we talked about boardrooms, train rooms, city council meetings. But as we go into the innovations on there, you know, let's talk about, you know, what it is. And it's, once again, it's an intelligent automatic multi-camera switching solution. It is voice triggered. So it's taking the audio signals from the microphones and sets up the cameras to track to the solutions on there. In addition with that, the one thing that, you know, we're really proud of on there is the intuitive interface to be able to connect to the microphones, to the cameras, to the room. But as we all know, everyone in the AV space, you know, it's no 2 rooms are ever alike, and that's always the case on there. So the connectivity is important. Setting it up is a breeze. Obviously, you'll have to fine tune as we go. But let's talk about the markets and what does CamConnect really solve for you. What we're seeing right now is a big upswing and refreshing existing meeting spaces. There's, I forgot the number, but there's millions and millions of conference rooms already pre-set up. But in today's world, we're looking to change things a little bit, meaning that it's just not the people in the office, it's people in multiple regions across the US, Canada, worldwide. The beauty with the CamConnect is also has a comprehensive API built in. So your existing conference rooms have controllers probably already preset with a Crestron or an Extron, Kramer, or maybe a Q-SYS controller. So when you have an existing room and you've got these controllers in place, you can feel pretty certain that CamConnect Open API is already working with them. But as we refresh a room, what's the purpose of refreshing the room? And the purpose of refreshing the room is to help create meeting equity. And that way, as I noted, people in the conference room, working from home, in other countries, other regions in the US, etc., they're having equal amount of time in FaceTime, not just by sound, but also by vision, right? So then that way you have the meeting equity. In addition with that, the Lumen solution and the quality of the cameras really gives you a better interpretation of facial recognition, meaning understanding gestures and motions when you're looking through the camera and seeing the individual on your screen. With that, it's a hands-free solution, as I noted. It takes the audio data from the microphones and adjusts the camera automatically. In some of the interfaces, you'll see you can adjust the settings where you have the microphones the cameras moving left and right, meaning that as people speak, the cameras will move. But you can also adjust the settings where it doesn't automatically jump when someone is a simple yes agreement or something like that. So that way it doesn't take away from the individual speaking just because someone else is agreeing with that piece. In addition to that, the AI algorithms are really important as people are speaking, and you'll have people who are not necessarily sitting still when they're speaking, and the camera will adjust accordingly in a smooth fashion left to right. So if I'm kind of bobbing and weaving as I talk, the camera is not going to react where, okay, he's in a certain range. We're just going to keep it there. But in addition with that, the AI algorithm allows the CamConnect to be able to center on the individual that's speaking. So it's a nice feature set to have. But also, let's talk about something more with that movement and the AI-based tracking. As you have in this example here, we have a teacher presenting to the classroom that's also recording from in a Zoom type or a Teams type of scenario. You'll see that the individual who's speaking, the cameras will center on the individual as they move left or right in that area that they're speaking with. This is something that, we talked about not pigeonholing ourselves, but also that's something that's very ideal if you're setting up a learning management system or an LMS system in an office environment or an educational environment. So, Rick, I'm going to let you dive because this is kind of where you take over and dealing with the installation. So you kind of give the people a little understanding, kind of some of the interfaces, not to go too in depth, but just kind of some of the feature sets that they have.
Absolutely. So one of the great parts about the AI Box One is that it's all IP based. So connectivity to all your devices, whether it be the speakers, the microphone solution, and your cameras, can all be connected by obviously power over Ethernet Cat6 cabling, which allows for a cable length of up to 100 meters. So you have a lot of flexibility in terms of setting up your configuration. So when you're connecting to your cameras, you're getting, as Chester mentioned, we're getting video control and power all through a single IP connection. Now, our interface, we absolutely can connect directly with a mouse and keyboard and a display to the CamConnect Pro box, but it does have a web GUI as well, which you can make modifications and adjustments as required. However, connectivity and setting it up is very easy and straightforward. Once you connect your microphone, and depending on the microphone solution, you'll have the ability to create zones or to select azimuth angles and then assign a camera and a camera preset to that azimuth angle. When audio is triggered from a particular location, triggers the camera, cuts to that camera, and the shot is now live and outputted through either USB and or HDMI. We've got adjustments for audio trigger levels, how quick to trigger to it, and the time to go back to a home position. So the flexibility that you have is built in, and I think one of the great parts about it is that it is not overly engineered or overly complicated. It gets right down to audio triggers and assigned cameras and camera presets to that triggered position. I hope that makes sense, and please reach out with any questions.
Please do. So as we talk about some of the advantages of the CamConnect, and really it's the AI algorithm. It really, the more it's used, it understands the individuals who's speaking, the areas they're at. So it has an AI algorithm built in to allow it to auto adjust. As I noted, the flexible output, right? We've got up to a 4 camera that will support up to a 16 mic array solution. I will go over this next section somewhat quick, but I want to, highlight some of our microphone partners. I think these are ones that you're already existing and using. Now, if these are micro partners that you're not using, let us know, because as we are certified between these 5 at this moment in time, but we're constantly looking to add new partners to this mix on there. So obviously we have Audio-Technica, Nareva, Sennheiser, Shure, and Yamaha. Currently, we are compatible with 15 mics between these 5 partners. Pretty simple. It's the Audio-Technica ceiling mics, as well as the Sennheiser ceiling mics, depending which one you're looking at. Shure is a little bit different. We're compatible with their ceiling mics, but also compatible with their table mics, as you'll see. So that one, and also their wireless microphone systems and their linear array microphone. Same with Nareva. We are compatible with their variations of the wall microphones that they carry. Sorry, my apologies. The Yamaha one. I'm sorry, I'm jumping screens here. The Yamaha. This is the ceiling mics, their table mics, and something that is very commonly used is their wireless microphone systems. So what they're using on there, I've seen this quite a bit in a kind of a city council type scenario that we have on there. And jumping ahead, talking about the Nareva mics and their wall microphones. We mentioned earlier, and Rick, I'd like you to go a little bit more in depth on this one, if you don't mind. The one thing is when you talk about refreshing the room and adding the CamConnect to provide meeting equity, you've got a lot of equipment that's already preset. So how are we compatible with the CamConnect with some of the more common, third-party controllers?
Well, one of the things that any council, any conference room wants is some control. In some cases, we want auto tracking to point the camera at who's ever speaking, and other times we would like, to turn that off and focus a single camera on a speaker. Well, with our API that ties in with all of these controllers, Crestron, Extron, and Kramer, it allows you to create some custom commands and custom configurations. The other thing that we haven't touched upon yet is that the CamConnect Pro does have the ability to create profiles. So you could have the room set up in profile A and then a second profile for a different setup. Well, through our API, a single command on a Crestron, Extron, or Kramer panel can reload that profile. So that gives you the customization that our customers are looking for, all built into the API, an extensive command set in our API.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Rick. Yeah, that piece is important because when you're refreshing the room, you need a solution that is compatible to the existing space, and that's what CamConnect does provide you to refresh that room to a more optimal situation for meeting equity. But when you've got an existing room, there are things that you're going to go about this, and we want to talk about some of I won't say the do's and don'ts, but some things you can expect with what you're seeing on there. Rick, I'm going to let you jump on this one because as you deal with a number of different things with, pre-sales, post-sales, pre-installation, post-installation setups. Can you discuss for the people on the phone here some of the situations that they might face, if you don't mind?
So when configuring a mic array with CamConnect Pro, and if you could jump to the next slide, I think that could address it a little bit better.
Yeah, sure. Give me 1 second there. There we go.
For example, in this particular conference room, we have 2 ceiling mics over a conference table. Now, the ceiling mics are Shure or Audio-Technica, where you could actually establish the lobes. Now, one of the situations is that we often will build out the lobes for the absolute best audio coverage from any position in the room. Now, we have to be cautious in that, because that can flood the CamConnect Pro with audio data, unnecessary audio data. So which microphone in which location is actually supposed to trigger the preset. So we want to avoid overlapping lobes in overlapping areas. And it takes a little bit of finesse and a little bit of time to actually dial that in. But once you have the lobes focused on specific areas that you want the camera focused on, you will get the best performance out of the combined both systems. I hope that makes sense.
A couple things that, for some people are using this, and maybe I don't want to take this over, but we talk about lobes here, but not all these mic partners are using lobes. Is that correct?
Correct. And in some cases, if this was, for example, a Yamaha RMCG mic, we're utilizing azimuth angles. And of course, depending on how close they are, you may want to either create exclusion zones or disable, not utilize the azimuth angles for one microphone and have the azimuth angle of the microphone closest to a particular position. That would give, once again, we're looking for best performance. And it takes a little bit of trial and error to dial it in. But again, the CamConnect Pro is receiving audio location data, not specifically audio, only the location data that is being sent from the microphone. So we have to make some fine adjustments and dial in which microphone, which azimuth angle is receiving the best audio for that particular location.
Let's see here. So we talked about this. We talked about the overlapping loads and readjusting that accordingly here. What else about, we also ran into this topic on exclusionaries. Do you want to discuss that a little bit more?
So in this example here, we've got two mics and we have we have a number of seats on the table. Well, microphones are covering both seat 4 and 14. So you would create an exclusion zone on one of the microphones and allow the secondary mic to actually cover that area. So again, we're focusing to making sure that we get the best audio data from each particular location that you want coverage of, and creating exclusionary zones for microphone 2 would keep those, the location 4 and 14 primarily being picked up by microphone 1. So all these tools are built into each of our microphone vendors. Yamaha's got some great tools in there where you can create exclusionary zones, as well as Sennheiser, Audio-Technica, and Shure.
Thanks a lot, Rick. I think the one thing I want to make sure I express to the audience is that the majority of this is still going back to refreshing that room we talked about. So you're adding CamConnect to a scenario that's already been invested upon and set up. So, we just want to kind of take the precautionary tales, take a look at the existing solution and setup in order to have a most optimal installation setup time. In addition with that, minimize some of the issues that you might be facing with this product on there that you might have in a pre-existing room. Excuse me. So let's go ahead and we'll talk about a couple of scenarios that we're seeing. So if you're not dealing with a room that you're refreshing, but you are dealing with a brand new installation of a new conference room. So ideally with the CamConnect and the usage that we have on there, you talk about your boardroom styles, or kind of maybe a boardroom with a U shape. So depending on what you have, you can have cameras set up on each side of the room, one in the front to face the back, and then one in the back to face that room as well. Rick, we got a couple of topologies that I do kind of want to go over to kind of explain it to the audience of what they're seeing here. So I'm going to jump to the next slide and kind of go through something that we are seeing in a U-shaped solution on there.
Yeah, so in this example right here, we have a single microphone over the conference room table and 2 loudspeakers. And one thing that you'll notice is that we've got our audio DSP, our cameras, our CamConnect Pro, the speakers, everything's all IP. Now, the meeting solution is receiving video only from USB via USB from the CamConnect processor. The audio is sending, the audio DSP is sending its audio USB signal into the meeting room. Now, in this case here, we've got 2 loudspeakers right next to the microphone. So of course, the DSP is going to be able to remove that audio from, remove the speaker audio so we don't get feedback or any loop through. But we would create a exclusion zone for those loudspeakers, for the 2 speakers, so that as the loudspeakers are active, it is not sending location data back to the CamConnect processor.
And one other thing I want to add to this imagery here, as you know, we listed 2 of our non-tracking cameras. This is our standard PTZ. As noted, CamConnect will make a standard PTZ Lumens camera into an auto tracking camera, and the CamConnect will control that camera. As we look at it, we've got a similar situation in a boardroom in a similar situation. I'm not going to talk about this too in depth, but I do think that it's a very similar scenario, unless there's something you want to point out that's a little bit more unique in this meeting room that you're seeing there.
The advantage over utilizing any of our PTZ cameras is that we have cameras with 20x zoom, 30x zoom, 12x zoom. So we can get the visual coverage that you need based on the environment you're going into.
Thanks, Rick. So the other thing we do want to notation, obviously, is not all rooms are using ceiling mics. And Rick, could you give advice why something would be more in table mics in this scenario like this, or maybe not necessarily in a puck style, but also in like the gooseneck style, versus having, a ceiling mic? Is there some reasons why we would see something that in the scenario in that manner?
Well, some of this, it all depends. It all depends on what the end users actually want, and some of them would prefer the tabletop mics because they get to address and they have focus, and it's an absolute great solution. The one caution that we have to be aware of is that on the Yamaha, on any tabletop mic, either from Yamaha or for Shure, the audio data is coming from the microphone, not the actual physical location. So you have to ensure that each microphone is identified and returned to that same location. Because again, the CamConnect Pro is receiving audio data, it's receiving the data that microphone is high, and it will trigger that particular camera preset to that location, whether the microphone is in that location or placed someplace else. The advantage that you have with the tabletop mics is that the room can be reconfigured, and you could have a room presets for a conference style, a U-shaped conference room as shown here, or more of a panel discussion where all the microphones are on a single panel at one end of the room. You would just create a profile within CamConnect Pro and presets for the cameras to point at each location that the microphones are at. So it's really, it gives you the benefit of crisp, clear audio directly from the person speaking, because the microphone is right in front of them, as well as flexibility in setting up the room.
Thanks a lot, Rick. And I'm going to re-emphasize something here. Someone make sure when you are using these wireless mics and someone's not playing a little dirty trick on you, moving microphones, make sure that you do keep it in its preset spot. Because obviously if you switch this mic with this mic, it'll trigger the wrong cameras to visualize the wrong space. So thanks for making that clarification on that, because we've run into issues where the cleaning people are adjusting the mics, wiping it down the area and just the mics in front of it, but not necessarily in that correct order. Good times. a couple things that we've added recently, and we'll talk about this here. I think it's actually kind of unique, and Rick, I'm going to give you, because you're the brains of the situation here, to talk about scenarios where you're talking about rooms in a banquet style or maybe in a classroom setting. This is something that's recently been added to the CamConnect profile on there. So if you don't mind, Rick, please jump into this piece.
So yeah, this is a new feature that I'm really excited about. It's going to be more microphones are going to be including this in our next release, but to be able to create zones within your space. So within, for example, the Nareva microphone, within the Nareva console, you could actually create zones based on the floor plan of the room. And when audio is detected in a particular zone, it will trigger that camera. And this could give you some flexibility in that the room could be set up in a classroom setup where all the desks and tables and chairs are facing one direction, or if they're set up in, as we've seen in the previous image, where it's banquet style.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was looking for the image here. Sorry, went the wrong direction.
Right.
So you have it in the
Banquet
room
style.
this way.
So you could have those zones set up so that it's looking for audio, it's waiting for audio to be triggered within that zone, and then you assign your camera and your camera preset to that particular zone. So it gives you the flexibility of not based on azimuth angles, but actually a zone. So for example, zone 1, you could have a presenter, an instructor pacing that whole entire area of that room, and the camera will stay focused within that area. And with built-in audio tracking, we'll be able to track them as well.
Thanks, Rick. So it is similar, just a diagram similar to what we had before. You've got, in this situation, you've got, as Rick mentioned before, you've got a camera in the back focusing on the instructor in the back, and then cameras in the front to focus on the individual areas in that classroom style. A very similar diagram, similar solutions on there. How you set up the mic arrays is depending on really how the configuration of that room really is in that piece on there. So this, you mentioned this earlier, Rick, and this is something that I think that's, being that everything is not always set in stone like we think everything should be on there. Rooms can be fluid and used for multiple situations or multiple styles. Let's talk about the profiles in that one here.
So we're finding a lot of conference rooms, a lot of rooms are being used for multiple purposes. And in the case of a divisible room, we could have it set up for 2 scenarios. And I think the next slide shows it a little bit better.
Yeah. So yeah, in this room, you'll see, sorry, let me just preface to everyone here. So you've got a large conference room, but as you'll notice that we'll have multiple cameras in this room here, not your standard 4. Sorry, Rick, go ahead.
No. And as we mentioned, we currently have a limitation of 4 cameras to a single CamConnect Pro. But in this case here, we could set up a profile. It doesn't mean that additional cameras cannot be connected to it. It's just it's only 4 are active. So in this case, profile 1, the room it's fully opened. We have 4 cameras that are active in this configuration in the corners, and we have coverage for everybody in the room. Now, the next slide shows that we've divided the room. So of course we would need a second CamConnect Pro, and we have 4 cameras assigned to each of the divided rooms. Up to 4 cameras for each divided room. And profile 2 for that first CamConnect Pro, and the second CamConnect Pro, well, it is connecting to the 4 cameras. We have coverage, we have isolated coverage for this each room section. Now, again, we can have up to 8 active profiles that we can recall at any time. And it allows for a lot of flexibility for multiple room configurations. Oh, and last thing that I want to mention is that these profiles can be triggered by a Crestron, Extron, or Kramer panel command.
I think the profile things that we've added recently is a very great feature set, because in the world we are today, each room isn't always designated for one situation. It could be a multi-purpose room, etc. So I think this gives us some flexibility with what you're dealing with on there, you know. So Rick, I appreciate that. Let me just go ahead and just jump out to the next slide here. So, you know, as we go into this piece here, you know, what's next for you guys, and you know, what can we do here to help support you guys better? And that's what we're trying to understand here. So if you guys want to have something that's a little bit more depth, a one-on-one presentation on the CamConnect, be it the interface for setup, configuration, you know, please sync with Rick, and we can schedule a demo for you in regards to the solution or other products from Lumens. Excuse me. And then the other portion here is that obviously if you're having any pre-sale support or installation support, Rick will also be able to help you work with that as well. Now, if you guys are looking to, test drive the units, not just the CamConnect, but also our cameras or other products, please reach out to your zone manager in your state, and they will go ahead and work with you to get a demo set out to you. As noted before, you know, there's no obligation to you to test drive it for 30 days, right? We'll pay for the shipping for it to arrive to you, and we'll also make sure that we put a label in the box to send it back, and that will be valid for the US and Canada. If you're in regions outside of that place, you know, please feel free to reach us out, and we can work with you on getting that demos taken care of. Perhaps it may not be supported by us, but one of our other global leaders in our company may be for that region, so we can work with you to get that taken care of for you. And then with that as well, we work with two major distributors inside of the United States with JB&A and Exertis Almo. And then for our partners in Canada, Data Visual is our distributor for that region. If you're calling from other areas or dialing in from other regions, please do let us know. We'll make sure that we get you to the appropriate people in that regards. So Helen, that concludes our presentation. Do we have any questions from the audience?
There's a
Yeah.
good one right up on top.
Very
sorry for
good.
jumping in, Helen.
No, quite all right. Thank you both for presenting today. We'll go ahead and begin our questions. So starting with the first question. Hi, while setting up, say, two VCTR40 cameras with the AI Box 1, coupled with this Sennheiser TCC2, can we do speaker auto tracking without preset of camera positions? Also, this will ensure that everyone in the room, irrespective of their position, sitting or standing or walking around, can be tracked. Go ahead and answer the question, Rick.
So, no. You would need to, because currently with the Sennheiser TCC2, we are working with azimuth angles. So we need to trigger a camera and a camera preset when a particular azimuth angle is active. So while you have somebody walking around the room, as they're walking around the room, they'll be in one location triggering one azimuth angle of the microphone. And then as they cross into another one, we need to trigger a second camera to say, hey, this is the active camera. Now, this could have a couple of advantages to that, because a single camera in a room may not have 100% coverage of all the angles. So with multiple cameras and camera presets based on azimuth angles, you can be sure that you can switch different angles of the room to get best coverage. And one way that you could actually test that is to get a couple of cameras and just see what looks best as somebody is walking around the room. And then you can see the positions, you can see where your best camera positions could be for best coverage. And then as they're walking around, as they're speaking, you want to draw the attention of the person that's speaking. So that would trigger a camera and a camera preset. So yes, you need camera presets for best coverage. Does that make sense?
You had a follow-up question to this piece as well. If I use the Nareva plus 2 cameras, can I do auto tracking, 2 TR40s?
Yes, 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 because Nareva is supported. You can do auto tracking. Yes. Yes, because Nareva has their they don't use azimuth angles, but you can create zones. And when somebody is in a particular portion of the room, it will trigger that camera angle to focus on that person.
Great. Thank you, Rick. I appreciate it. So another question that we have is, will this system work with Google Meet platform?
The output of the CamConnect Pro outputs, you have two options. Standard UVC/USB webcam video and HDMI. So the beauty of that is that any platform that will accept a standard USB webcam will receive the video from CamConnect Pro.
Very good. Thank you.
So yes,
Also,
it's supported.
wonderful. Next question, does Lumens offer deal registrations? And yes, we do at quantity 1.
Helen, I want to back up really quick just in regards to the other person's regards to Google Meet platform. So yes, we definitely work with Google Meet. I apologize. We also work with Zoom and we also work with Teams as well.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chester. Next question. QSC was included in the initial discussion. Is it compatible?
QSC. So QSys or Q. I'm suspecting you're saying like a QSys DSP. Is that the product that you're looking for? Is that the product you're asking about? Right now, I will have to say right now, currently in the current version that we have, we are not receiving, we're not getting any data from a DSP. So if you're looking for a QSys DSP, right now, no.
Yeah, that's coming up on it's coming up on a future platform, if I'm correct on that. So I think possibly on the next firmware upgrade on there.
Yes, we are looking to open it up. I've personally been requesting that because there are triggers in there that when a particular mic is hot, it can send that data. We're still working, we're fine-tuning it. We want to make sure we have a solid platform. So at this time, connectivity to a DSP is not supported on our current version.
Jim, my apologies on that because I know that's in process. I may have jumped the gun on that, so my apologies on that. But I know that's something that we are in beta testing right now.
Okay, very good. Next question. Are the cameras NDI capable?
No. Currently, the CamConnect Pro does not receive NDI, an NDI transport stream from the camera. However, we can on some of our NDI cameras, we can turn NDI off. And if you wanted to have a multi-purpose room where you want to utilize NDI, you can turn off voice tracking on the CamConnect Pro, enable the NDI feature on that, and plug in your TriCaster, your Wirecast, your NDI solution. But currently, no, we only receive the RTSP stream from the cameras, and in some cases, we have to disable NDI on the camera to provide for the RTSP stream. Does that make
Wonderful.
sense? I just want to make sure that makes sense. I'm answering Jason's question.
Correct. Are there any more questions at this time? Okay, very good. Thank you all for joining us today. We greatly
Actually, we got-
appreciate it. Oh, go ahead, Chester.
Oh, sorry, no. Yeah, so Eddie is commenting real quick, and that's a good point, is we do have NDI cameras available, multiple variations of it. So in a non-CamConnect solution and a broadcasting solution, we do have multiple choices for you to review for that type of solution on there.
And
Thank
again,
you.
and again, you can utilize if a camera is NDI enabled, we can turn it off for use with CamConnect Pro, turn it back on for non-CamConnect Pro use and use with other solutions.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Please be on the lookout for future webinars from Lumens. You may visit our website at www.mylumens.com. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate everyone's time. Have a great day.